following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
"30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick and Michael Sindrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on kind of a strange Tuesday in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know any other way to put it. There were a series of things that we expected to do on the show today and had no idea that around 11 o'clock a bomb would go off. And that bomb involved the parting of ways. At least that's the way it's been termed by the Titans, involving general manager Jon Robinson. We're going to spend most of the 4 o'clock hour, if you're watching live, on this subject. Then Tony Basilio will join us around 5 o'clock, and my buddy and former Vanderbilt star Barry Goheen will join us around 5:30. So to say the least, we have got a very busy show for you. Let's bring Coach Watson Brown to our microphones. Watson, the thing that is sad for me, I got to know Jon Robinson a little bit, and I know what it meant to him having grown up in Union City, Tennessee. We used to laugh about he and Mark Griffin, the former University of Tennessee player who we have on the show a lot. Both of them grew up in Union City. This job meant a lot to him. And, you know, he got very emotional at the Combine back in February when talking about the playoff loss to Cincinnati. I know how much this hurts him.
Yeah, it does, George. It's tough in this business, which I've been in for 46 years. And it's bottom line in ways, and there are bosses that basically control you stay in or not. So it's really not in your hands. You do the best you can. I feel for Jon. I'm surprised at this. I know we're going to get into it pretty good. Surprised at the time that it's happened more than that it's happened. Something really had to fester to just do it right in the middle of the season like this. And George, I'll quickly make this statement and we'll get deeper into it, but I don't think there's any way he's let go if Mike Vrabel is 100% in his corner. I don't see it happening that way. And so there's got to be a parting a little bit there. And Jon's the one that hired Mike.
Yep.
Jon hired Mike as being an assistant with the Houston Texans and to come in to be the head coach here. I know how these things go down. Been in them myself in the firing and been in them myself in getting fired. And there's got to be more to it. And Mike couldn't have just stuck up 100% for him. If he did, I don't think this would go down like it went down.
Let's bring Terry McCormick in. Normally it's Daily Titans Update. Today I could care less who comes off the PUP list or whatever. And we're going to get kind of down and dirty on this thing. So, Terry, the timing seems strange, but it seems like you could connect some A.J. Brown dots here. Brown, of last week, telling everybody what he's going to attempt to do, has this monster game, and then when the Titans get back, the GM who made the deal gets fired, it's pretty easy to believe that somewhere either Amy Strunk and or Mike Vrabel got involved in this and said, enough.
Yeah, George, I think, and you and I talked about this earlier, once the news came down and all. If you'll recall, there's a report that's been put out now from Adam Schefter that says that Amy Adams Strunk made the determination this morning that she was going to move on from Jon Robinson. And like you said, the timing of this is very interesting, given that the team is 7-5 and on the verge of clinching the AFC South for the third straight year. But also, that was an embarrassing performance that the team had on Sunday by one of their former players, AJ Brown, just kind of taking it to them and kind of doing whatever he wanted to and leading the Eagles to that 35-10 win. If you will remember, one of the few other times that Amy Adams Strunk has stepped in and played the trump card in this organization was in 2015 when Ken Wisenhunt was the head coach and the Titans were floundering, and she relieved him of his duties 2 days after a beatdown in Houston where it was so embarrassing that J.J. Watt had just teed off on Zach Mettenberger, who was the quarterback at the time, and Mettenberger was literally crawling to the sidelines. Just a pathetic display by the Titans and their performance that day. So, you wonder if there's any connection there in her feeling that the team was embarrassed on the field of play and making a decision of this magnitude.
Do you agree with Watson that Vrabel was in on this?
I think he had to have some knowledge of it, obviously, that she's not going to change general managers without having her head coach in on the loop. He's got to be in the
Terry,
loop.
Terry, that's not what I mean.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think it's easy to sort of believe that Vrabel had gotten frustrated that he no longer had the wide receiver who is Super Bowl caliber. He had an Isaiah Wilson thing that was a fiasco.
Sure.
The Caleb Farley drafting has not worked. I'm asking you, was Mike Vrabel actively involved in this?
I think Mike Vrabel was very frustrated. You could sense that a couple of times. You saw it on draft day when they traded A.J. Brown. You saw his reaction when they cut to the war room of the Titans, and there's Jon Robinson trying to explain what it is that they've done in trading A.J. Brown. And Mike Vrabel you can tell he's seething. And then the other part was after the game on Sunday, you could see, and hear in the tone of Mike Vrabel's voice that he was very exasperated, very frustrated at not just losing, but losing in the way that they did, and because of a guy that they used to have and traded away. So I do think that Mike Vrabel's frustrations probably played a role in this.
Terry, obviously Watson's going to get in the middle of this as well. This is not just going to be me, but when the trade went down, I was on vacation down near the Gulf Coast, and obviously I was shocked by it. I had no idea it was coming. I never felt like Jon was able to get the message across to the fan base of, look, here's why we did what we did. We know it's unpopular, but you've got to understand where we're coming from. Why did he make the trade?
Well, a couple of things. One, the Titans have this, ideology, this thought process, this family thing, so to speak, that Mike Vrabel has talked about from time to time, that Jon Robinson talked about a lot. And A.J. Brown was making waves. He was, they felt like he was more concerned about his money and his contract situation than being the good soldier and waiting his turn to get paid. So I think that was some of it. And then I think part of it was the fact too, George, that, in bucking the team trend of, waiting your turn, doing, and just keep your mouth shut and play football type of thing that they, seem to like over there at St. Thomas Sports Park. I think in getting rid of A.J. Brown and trading him, I don't think they got nearly enough back in return. They got the pick that they used on Traylon Burks, but, here's the deal. You do not trade superstar players unless you absolutely have to. And A.J. Brown was under contract. He could have held out in training camp. He would have eventually showed up and played football for the Tennessee Titans if they had forced his hand. But I guess they didn't want to deal with all the distractions and the commotion that would have come with that, the back and forth in the media and whatnot. So they moved on, but they didn't get nearly enough. And you saw that very evident on Sunday.
Watson, take it from there for a question. Then we'll go to the break, and then we'll really get into this some more.
Okay. This A.J. Brown thing, Terry, I've harped on all year, probably one of the three of us. It's just every time I bring it up a bunch. When you think you're good enough to compete for a Super Bowl, and then you let one of your top two stars on offense go, it just made no sense to me. And that thing about family, and then you take it on, that's all great up till the superstar time. And those superstars are going to demand that money. And that guy that's the other wide receiver, he'll be family a little more. I just don't think you treat everybody just as family. And I would have, number one, held out, or number two, I would have restructured some other contracts to come up for some money to pay A.J. Brown. And we all knew how good he was. So there's got to be more to this than just that, though. I don't think this is a one trade deal. I think, Terry, there's more. And I know we're going to get into that, George, as we go. But this A.J. Brown thing, to me, told the team, maybe correct me if I'm over-exaggerating this, but I think it told the team, well, we were a Super Bowl contender, but we'll back off here a little bit, and we'll restructure, and we'll get back up there again. When you let that guy go and you bring in a rookie to take his place, what is that telling the rest of the team?
A great message. There was a school of thought too that the Titans were in a situation where maybe they had to choose between whether they wanted to pay A.J. Brown or if they wanted to pay Jeffrey Simmons. But that's for down the road. They could have kept both guys if they had really wanted to play hardball with A.J. Brown. And then the other part of it that we'll probably get into more later is that they simply had too many misses, and now they're paying the price for it. The offensive line is in shambles. When Taylor Lewan went down with an injury, they wound up trading for Dennis Daly to replace him. Dennis Daly looks like a guy who ought to be in the USFL. He is not a starting caliber lineman in the NFL, in my opinion. He's been beaten routinely, and that's part of the big problem in the passing game is that they cannot protect the ball. Ryan Tannehill long enough for him to get deep routes down the field, vertical routes and explosive plays consistently. And they also can't run block well enough to keep people off Derrick Henry so that he can get through the hole and get to the second level. So when you miss on Isaiah Wilson, Dylan Radins on the offensive line, that's a big problem because then you end up playing guys like Aaron Brewer and Dennis Daly, who are below average players. Same thing with Caleb Farley. They took a chance on Caleb Farley, knowing his injury history. It didn't work out because now he's injured again.
Terry, let's do this. Let's go to our first break. Watson, get ready because we'll get right back to you afterwards. Okay. So most of the first hour will be devoted to the parting of the ways. I mean, you can call it what you want. He got fired. Of Titans general manager Jon Robinson. By the way, if you're wondering what is the suit and tie all about, I attended a funeral earlier today of a really good BGA classmate. This is not necessarily the way I want to dress, but for today, you're just going to have to deal with it. This is Main Street Media Television.
Buying or selling a home can be a very personal experience. Why not go with the team that receives nearly all of their business from referrals? Clearly a trusted name in real estate. The Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners has sold more than 500 homes in the last 7 years. Voted best in Sumner County multiple times. Proven to be trusted with your most personal assets. Call the Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners at 615-906-8458. The Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners, Middle Tennessee's most trusted team in realty.
I highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation because of their caring nature and attentiveness to detail.
Pre-planning your funeral now will bring you peace of mind and less stress to your loved ones. When the chaos of losing you happens, your family can honor and celebrate your life, knowing things are happening just as you wanted them to. Pre-planning determines the details of your funeral, cemetery services, and can be less expensive. We are honored to serve you and are always here for you in your time of need.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. Traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
Jody Jones Dentistry can handle all your dental needs, from the basics to cosmetic procedures. All of this in the nicest dental facility I have ever seen. Jody has done it right. They're located conveniently at 55 Music Square East, and for an appointment, it's simple. Dial 615-259-5100 and tell them Plaz sent you. When you're thinking about golf, consider Riverside Golf Links. Under new ownership, the course has improved dramatically. It's now 27 holes, complemented by a 9-hole executive course. Book a tee time now at 615-847-5074 and get ready to enjoy the beauty of golf in the Old Hickory area at Riverside Golf Links.
I'm Bart Durham. I was sworn in as a lawyer in 1963, and I've been working as a lawyer since then.
We're a firm that does exclusively personal injury, a lot of tractor-trailer crashes. Insurance companies will open up their checkbooks when you force them to.
We have systems that work.
We get the most money for our clients in the shortest amount of time.
I'm Blair Durham. My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
This is Eric Berner with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. People hire me because I use a customized, individualized, and personal approach for the person I'm working with. Everyone's situation is different. If you've lost a spouse or a parent and want to make sure your inheritance is utilized and does not just disappear, I can help with that. Call me at 615-235-1058 or email Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
We're back, and obviously the 4 o'clock hour will be dominated by the story of the Titans letting go of general manager Jon Robinson earlier today. I think you can connect the dots. A.J. Brown has this monster game on Sunday. The Eagles kind of trashed the Titans, and at some point when they got home, either Mike Vrabel voiced to Amy Strunk, "See what I've been talking about?" or Amy Strunk just on her own said, "Why did this happen?" So, Watson, you take it from there. Terry McCormick is alongside, and we'll get to all the issues before the hour is over.
A couple more things, Terry, generally about this, and George, to you too, to ask your opinion. Talking about Wisenhunt and when they went to Houston and they had all these sacks and that it was awful and embarrassing. That's exactly what happened Sunday. They had all these sacks. Our quarterback got embarrassed, got killed. I felt so sorry for him. I'm telling you, he took shots, unmerciful shots in that game, to the point I said, "Get him out of there. We're going to kill him." And that comes to mind when you said that about the Houston deal with Wisenhunt. And the second thing is, I want to give John some credit here. I mean, we've had 5 straight winning seasons. We've won 3 straight division titles. There's been a lot of good come. He's the one that hired Mike Vrabel, who's a very well thought of, successful coach right now in the NFL. And so I think he will show up again. He's got too good a track record not to show back up somewhere again if he wants to in his life. So I'll get that out of the way. But then I look at, guys, they're sitting here 1-5 against winning record teams, 6-0 against losing record teams. And so they really hadn't, the one team they beat, it's got a winning record, did not have a winning record when we beat them. It was the Washington Commanders, and now they do have a winning record since that time. Now, the rest of the way, they've got 3 losing teams out of the next 5, and I think they'll be playing the Chargers with a losing record because I think the Dolphins will beat them this week before the Titans go out to play the Chargers on the West Coast, and the Cowboys will probably end up having the only winning record. And we're going to win this division, Terry, and we're going to have no worse than a 10-7 record. No worse than. And very well could be a little better than that. So there's a lot of ways to look at this. But the thing that I'm going to throw out there to both of you that bothers me is if I own this football team, I'm not going to get involved in every little operation thing. I'm not. Jerry Jones does, not many do. But something like A.J. Brown, if I own this football team, I would have said, we ain't trading that guy. I'm telling you right now, find another way, but we're not letting that guy go. I think it's a little unfair to throw it all on Jon Robinson. I know from the look in Mike Vrabel's eyes, he didn't like it at all. And Mike Terry had just come out and said, as long as I'm here, A.J. Brown will be here. He will never leave. And by golly, the next day he's gone. And so I know Mike Vrabel wasn't for it. But how does the owner not step up and say no? And if she fired him for that reason, she's got to look a little bit in a mirror here and say, I got to learn from this and not let my superstars get away and speak up when I need to speak up. Am I off base there, or is that a fair statement?
No, you're off base. In fact, there was part of that Adam Schefter clip that I was referring to, talking about, her decision to fire was apparently the thought that maybe she didn't 100% realize that A.J. Brown was going to be traded, and if that's the case, then she needs to listen more in the media, because certainly, that had been kicked around and, kind of bubbling under the surface for at least 2 or 3 weeks prior to the deal happening, because A.J. Brown kind of hinted around through his people that he was not happy with the contract situation and that he wanted something done about that. And it seemed like the Titans didn't move quickly enough. And then once things got out of control, then they made the decision to go ahead and deal him away. And now they're paying the price.
To me, what this turned out to be was a big stink bomb in the locker room, because shortly after that, the veterans on that team are saying, what the hell? We're saying, excuse me, we're saying we're a Super Bowl team, and they know full well they're not. Right now, they are simply the product of a crummy division. They've got gaping holes. Yeah, they're going to host a first-round playoff game by default, Terry, and that's all it is.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, I guess maybe they were thinking that they could do the same thing that the Minnesota Vikings did when they traded Stephon Diggs to Buffalo and then drafted Justin Jefferson, who's as good, maybe better. But certainly that's not the way it's wound up. And A.J. Brown certainly made them realize that on Sunday. And, in fairness to Treylon Burks, we didn't get to see a full complement of what he could do because he got knocked out of the game with a concussion on that great touchdown catch. And, and that play right there gives you a glimmer of hope of the type of player that Burks could possibly be. But, that's an unlikely roll of the dice to be able to replace a veteran superstar with a rookie and have that rookie be just as good right off the bat. The thing that Justin Jefferson is doing in Minnesota is the exception, not the rule with rookie wide receivers. Would you guys agree with that? And I think the Titans gambled and lost.
And Terry, by the way, it's to the Titans players' credit that they have really not come out to any great extent and ripped this. But in that locker room, they're sitting there going, after that was done, what the hell? Tell me a little bit while we're on all this about the replacement. Is it interim? Is it permanent? What is it?
Well, it's Ryan Cowden, who's interviewed unsuccessfully for a couple of GM jobs. He previously worked in the Carolina Panthers personnel department before he came here. He was kind of Jon Robinson's right-hand man in the front office. So he has the interim tag. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a real look at the job permanently, because, obviously his ties to Jon Robinson, I don't know how much the Titans will want to distance themselves from the entire Jon Robinson, staff and all. It's going to be interesting because I think part of the reason that you make Ryan Cowden the interim is simply for the fact that you're too late in the ball game, so to speak, from the offseason and scouting perspective to make any real personnel moves here that can set you up for the draft. You got to keep that same scouting staff, even though it may be a lame duck type situation, because they're the ones who've already attended all the college games and practices. They're the ones who've been talking to college coaches, college assistants, different people that are associated with all the prospects that are coming out. So even though there could well be a new general manager in place in January or February, that guy is only going to be getting his feet wet as he calls the shots in the draft, and he's going to be doing it with the current staff that's in place. Now, my presumption is he's going to be doing it with Mike Vrabel looking over his shoulder and having a serious amount of input in terms of who the Titans need to take at what position in the draft. My guess is that out of this, Mike Vrabel ascends to the top of the power structure.
Watson, is it almost that Vrabel is going to handpick the next guy? There's no way they're going with this guy long term, given that he's sort of Robinson's guy and Robinson is no longer the flavor of the month. Isn't this going to be a Vrabel guy?
I don't see how it's not. The way this went down, I'm going to go back to what I said at the start. I don't think Mike got rid of Jon, but I don't think Mike saved Jon. Mike, in my opinion, if Miss Amy says, this is the way I feel, Mike could have walked in and said, Miss Amy, stick with it longer. I'm telling you, Jon's the right guy. We've made some mistakes. We can get them corrected. But it's obvious he did not do that. So that tells me that now he's going to be the one in charge. And the one thing I've learned, George and Terry, now getting involved in NFL daily, the general manager and the head coach, man, have to G and haul. In college, you didn't have that guy. The head coach made all of his own decisions. Now, he picked the guys he wanted on his team. Now, he didn't get who he wanted all the time because he had to go recruit them. But in the NFL, you can pick them and then you draft them. And they've got to have a G and haul there, or you don't make it in the NFL. And I don't think, Terry, a football coach and being the general manager is the way to go either. I know how hard it was to be an AD and a head football coach, doing them both at the same time. And I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't do it again. And so they've got to get the right GM. And man, have I learned that head football coach and that GM, man, have got to be, they got to be tight. And their offices ought to be absolutely next door to each other with a door in between. Because their brains, their thoughts, their hearts, everything has to coordinate. And that GM, I've learned, has to understand to draft to the philosophy of how the coach wants to play. So he's got to totally understand. They got to understand each other. And it's just obvious to me, Jon picked him. So, he picked Mike as his coach, but it's obvious over this 5-year period that there's been a slow pull apart between them, or Mike would have been in the middle of this more. I don't think Mike went and said, get rid of that guy. I don't believe that. I don't think Mike did that. And I'm guessing on both ends. I'm just saying intuition-wise, I don't think Mike stuck his neck out to save him when it came time to walk in there and say, ooh, she's letting him go. I better get in there and have a long talk with her. And I don't think that happened.
You may be onto something there, Watson. I think, it's obvious that in this whole scenario, like you said, they were in lockstep when they first got there, because you remember, Mike Mularkey was forced upon Jon Robinson. He took the job with the understanding that Mike Mularkey was going to be the head coach after having been the interim to finish out the 2015 season. And then once Robinson got the opportunity to get a little bit more of the power, he wanted Mike Vrabel as his head coach. But yeah, it is kind of interesting in what you say, if that's plausible, and I have no reason to believe that it's not, Watson, that evidently there was something that had come between them. And my guess is the something that had come between them was some of these deals that have been made and some of these roster moves where the Titans have been found lacking in some of these drafts and some of these personnel moves when they've had to replace some players.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take it a little bit stronger, Watson, than you are. And I'm not necessarily blaming Vrabel for this, because the moves that have been made, unfortunately, John went through what I would call a bad cold streak. And my guess is that Vrabel got tired of it. He got tired of having to patch up things that he didn't feel needed to get patched up. And I suspect that he has told Amy Strunk, I am being put behind an 8-ball that I can't do anything about unless you start helping me to do something about it. And then they go out Sunday and A.J. Brown trashed them. I mean, let's face it. He had a monster game, which you could see coming. They can't cover me if they don't have a pass rush. Boy, that is scary.
That'd be bad.
Thank you, Billy. It's good to have you on the show today. But the point is that when they got home, there's bound to have been a meeting of the minds where he said, see, this is what I'm talking about. You got to do something.
Well, I won't be as strong as you, but I'll go philosophically with you. I think they got home and said, we're not close to that football team we just played. Throw out the A.J. Brown. There's a lot more in that game that wasn't close to the talent level on the Titans side, in my opinion, in that game. I'm not sure they didn't come home and say, we're not where we need to be at this time in our situation. These windows, Terry, are so small in the NFL. When it's your turn to go for it, you better go for it. And I mean, you better spend your money. I said it yesterday on the show on Monday, George. I said, you get what you pay for. And you better spend your money and go for it. And if you're not there yet, okay, build it up and do it. I think the Titans were in that window here in the last few years. They're in the go for it time. And the first strike was letting AJ go. The second strike is some of these high draft choices that have not been average. They've kind of bombed out, to be very honest. And then even some of the ones they brought in, Autry was a great bring in. I'm not big on Bud Dupree. I'm sorry. I'm not a big Bud Dupree fan. I don't see quickness in him. He stays hurt a lot of the time. I don't think he's been worth the money that's been spent on him. Only my opinion. And you guys may not feel that way. But I think that Mike's sitting there and Amy's sitting there and saying, man, this is our window and we're not where we should be. And we better correct it right now and start doing a better job from this point, because the Derrick Henrys and the Jeffrey Simmons and the Ryan Tannehill's getting older if he's our guy, and blah, 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 and Kevin Byard. And we better start putting some people with these stars we got, or this window, Terry, is going to pass us by.
Because
no, you're exactly right.
Terry, let's take this a step further. If you're being fair, The ceiling right now is a first-round playoff victory at home against somebody like JETS or whoever. After that, I don't see how you can project that this team's going any farther.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, and that's something that I wrote in the aftermath of the Philadelphia loss. It's like, this team has beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat. They're going to beat the Houstons, and they're going to beat the Jacksonvilles and the Indianapolises and the
Dregs.
Ravens. Yes. But does anyone, unless they get matched up in the first round with the Jets or maybe the Lamar Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens, do we really think they're going to win? And even if they do win that first round game, I don't see a scenario where this team in consecutive weeks, after having not beaten a good team all year long, is going to beat some combination of the Bengals, Bills, and Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl. That's not happening.
Terry, let's do this. Let's go to the break, and then I want to get back into how the cold streak started. Isaiah Wilson, Caleb Farley, now A.J. Brown. What are the events that led to this and your perspective from covering it every day? Stay tuned. This is Main Street Media Television.
For Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly, they welcome every opportunity to serve and satisfy their clients. Whether you are looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and remodel is unique, luxurious, completed on time, and within budget. Contact them today to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects by logging on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
At WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics, we pride ourselves in providing access, innovation, and a patient experience second to none. Access to care and treatment when you need it. Innovation with medical-led cosmetics and various on-site technologies for full-service treatments with a customer experience that is calming, casual, and effective. Independently owned, providing medical, surgical, pediatric, and cosmetic dermatology and more. Visit WellSkinMD.com to schedule your appointment today. WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics. Access to healthier skin. It's your last chance to get a spring tune-up for summer. Complete Service Heat and Air can clean your coils, check out your motor, and make sure you have cold air on that first hot day of summer. Complete Service Heat and Air is located in White Bluff, Tennessee. We do service and repair on heating and air the right way. 24/7 service. Call us at 615-797-3997. That's 615-797-3997. Serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties. Have you heard about the high levels of radon in Middle Tennessee? Radon gas is the second leading cause of lung cancer, second only to smoking, and has no color, no taste, and no smell. The only way to know if you have radon is to test for it. Duret Radon Mitigation offers testing for small and large-scale residential and commercial properties, plus mitigation services. Visit DuretRadonMitigation.com to request testing or get a free estimate for mitigation. That's DuretRadonMitigation.com. Since 1865, the First Baptist Church of Gallatin on Winchester Street has served its community by catering to the least, the last, and the lost, providing a church of welcome used by God to save the lost, transform the saved, and impact its community. As a proud multi-ethnic congregation, Pastor Derek Jackson personally welcomes you to join them in fellowship Sunday mornings at 8 in person or at 10:45 in person or online at firstbaptistgallatin.org. First Baptist Gallatin on Winchester Street, serving with open arms as a true church of welcome.
Well, we're spending the hour talking about the Titans' decision today to part ways with general manager Jon Robinson. Terry, it seems to me there are 3 lightning rounds in this that really made Jon look bad. The first one was the big kid, the offensive lineman. Tell me how that went down, because when you talk to some college coaches, they tell you there were warning signs all along that Isaiah Wilson was going to be a disaster.
That's interesting because you do hear that talk out there, and people saying that the kid certainly wasn't mature enough to handle the responsibility and the money that he had been given. And when you look at that whole thing, makes you wonder why they would have try to take a risk on a guy like that in the first round. That's the type of guy that, even though he may have a lot of talent and may solve a need for you, if he's got character questions or he's got health questions or anything like that, you wait until round 3 or 4 and then take your shot on him. That way you're not out nearly as much, not only in terms of draft capital, but in terms of money that you're paying him up front. Some of that can probably be attributed to the fact that 2020 was the COVID year. And I'd be interested to know, because I think a lot of 2020 draft picks overall, not just with the Titans, but overall, I think a lot of 2020 draft picks have wound up washing out because, on-site visits were disallowed, pro days were shut down. There was really, other than the meeting you had with that kid at the combine and maybe what you could glean by a Zoom call or a telephone message, that sort of thing, that's about all you got. If you look at the Titans 2020 draft class, Christian Fulton and Larrell Murchison are the only guys left on the roster. Other than Fulton, best guy they pulled out of 2020 was Tier Tart, who was an undrafted guy that they found out at Florida International.
Terry, let me try it this way. Did Robinson simply ignore staff that were telling him Wilson's a problem, I don't care? Or was their staff clueless? Because there are too many college coaches who have off the record said, I can't believe they took him.
Yeah, it may have been some of both. I mean, I think, it sounds like the Titans didn't do their homework well enough on Isaiah Wilson at the start. And then also the very next year, they didn't do their medical homework well enough on Caleb Farley either. They took a chance. I think part of it is this too, George, I think, and tell me if you disagree, but in 2019, and the Titans have been picking, because they've had success, they've been picking in the teens and the 20s and even picked 30s, I think, in one of their drafts. So they've been picking toward the bottom of the round, where in any given year, there may be 20 to 25 guys who have legitimate first round grades. Well, if you're picking at 28 or whatever, you're probably not going to get one of those. You're going to get somebody who's got a second round grade, and you're going to pay them first round money. So Jon Robinson wisely rolled the dice on Jeffrey Simmons, who had not only an ACL injury, but also had an off-field incident while he was at Mississippi State. He was a top 10 talent, and they got him with the pick number 19 because of the issues that he had off the field and health-wise. Turned out to be a great move because
Right.
Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best players at his position in the entire NFL. Well,
and we have to remember that, because it's not like as Watson said earlier, it's not like the report card is 0.0, which,
Right.
by the way, I almost had one year at Vandy. But the problem is that there were too many in a row. There was Isaiah Wilson, made him look bad. Farley made him look bad. A.J. Brown's making him look bad. All of a sudden, the what have you done for me lately looks awful.
I think maybe there was a tendency to go too far down that path and try to take a chance. A lot of people said Caleb Farley was a top 10 talent, but he'd had injury problems. He sat out the COVID year in 2020. He had, part of his injury problem was a back injury. Back injuries are certainly very tricky. You don't know if how long a guy can last with a back injury. And if you look at Caleb Farley, he really doesn't look like he has the build of a guy who can take the pounding that the NFL dishes out. He's built more like a basketball player, George. He's very athletic looking. He can run, he can jump. He's very athletic looking, but I question if he has the ability to take an NFL pounding. And then when you add a back injury on top of that, made it for a very risky pick in round 1. And it's obviously not panned out.
Watson, you're listening to all this. Chime in.
Well, I think Jeffrey Simmons created Caleb Farley. When you go for a guy that's got 7th, 8th, 9th pick in a draft talent, and you get him in the 20s, there's only one way you get one like that: an off-the-field incident or an injury. The off-the-field incident with Simmons was nothing. It was not anything like we've seen some of the off-field incidents in the past.
Yeah, it was when he was in high school.
And the injury was a knee. Knees and shoulders are very fixable. The difference in Caleb Farley, his injury was a back. That's taking a much bigger chance. Backs are 50-50 if they ever play again, guys. That goes into college the same way. You get a kid that's got a bad back, look out. He very well may not ever play again. So that one to me, but I think that one was created by Jeffrey Simmons on how successful they were, guys with it. Say, hey, we can do this again. Here's another kid that has 7th, 8th, 9th round pick in the draft talent, and we got a pick in the 20s. Let's go for it. And because it worked with Jeffrey. But again, just a bad mistake. Ray Dance, to me, was not a good pick at where he fell in the draft.
Well, the thing with Radens, Watson, he was from the FCS level, which is 1AA. So you don't know how ready he is. Most of those guys that come from FCS, having coached at that level some, most of those guys are not immediately ready to go to the NFL and make an immediate contribution. They're projects.
And he's playing on a team that's much better than everybody else in the FCS level.
True. And
with North Dakota State.
And they had only played one game in 2020 because of COVID. So you're talking about a guy who played at less than the top level, not like he played at Alabama or Ohio State. He played at North Dakota State and then only played one game. So you're talking about a guy that you're asking to make a tremendous jump, and you're drafting him in the 2nd round, hoping he can be a plug-and-play player. Not going to work.
Well, and the thing I've learned, Terry, and I'm learning fast, it's been 3 years now that I'm watching the NFL every day now, and I never watched an NFL game. Sundays in college was our worst work day of all days. And so I never even saw ball games hardly, and now I'm seeing it every day. Man, when you miss on talent in the early rounds, it shows. It shows on your teams. And where are we weak a little right now? Corner, offensive line. I mean, the talent spots that we've kind of missed that we've just been talking about, where are our issues right now on this football team as we try to go into the playoffs and see how far we can go? It's those misses. So they're so important. You make up ground to me, Terry, as I've watched it in that 4th, 5th, 6th free agent stuff. But you've got to hit it right early. You just can't miss those guys, especially when you're in your window to go. Now, if you're in your window to build, it kind of disappears a little bit some. But when you're in the go window, it shows. It really shows. And I just think that's it. It's a shame to me, guys, because look where it was before these two guys came. Look where it was before these two guys came. Look where it is today. It's a whole lot better. They have done a very good job together, but now we're at the pinnacle, Terry, and I think frustration's starting to sit in that we're not better than we are right now, because I think they felt last year and this year are the windows. These were the two windows. And I think
I
you
agree
felt
with
that all around the building. They said it's our go time, and now we're sitting here and we're not as good as we thought we were.
Yeah, and it was obvious that they weren't going to be as good once they traded away AJ Brown. Because there are people who will tell you, and I don't disagree, that AJ Brown was the most important person on the offense, even over Derrick Henry.
Agreed.
Because you saw last year when Derrick Henry went down, they plugged Deontay Foreman in, and the offense ran pretty well. It wasn't Derrick Henry like he wasn't ripping off 65-yard runs routinely, but he was still gaining yards and moving the chains. But you take AJ Brown out of the lineup, now look where they are.
See, I think AJ Brown. I think the person we haven't been talking about is Derrick Henry. And I think Derrick Henry, if I'm him, I'm very upset that A.J. Brown is gone because now that box is full. I'm telling you, it is full. It's not a half a man in there. It's a full man in there because they're not worried about A.J. on the outside. Last year, Derrick had A.J. and the year before, he had A.J. on the outside, and they'd say, man, we can't go in there all the time. We got to pick and choose kind of when we go. These last few games, they said, the heck with it. Throw it to one of them dudes. We're taking this away, and Derrick Henry is paying for it.
They had the Liberty Bell in the box on Sunday. Not only
it was. I counted 9 helmets in there sometimes.
Yeah. So Terry, let's sort of end it this way.
Let me throw you this bone first, George, along those lines. The Nick Westbrook-Ikhine and Robert Woods played 98 snaps Sunday. 2 catches for 10 yards combined.
They're good players. They're the family guys we were talking about at the start of the show. Hey, fit in, do what you need to do, be here for all of us. But that superstar, I don't care what you say, you got to treat them a little different. You got to treat them a little different because they are the difference for your football team. You're dead on, Terry. A.J. Brown could play half of those snaps and make more plays, a whole lot more plays in half of the snaps that those guys are playing.
So, Terry, let's read the tea leaves here. Vrabel clearly is now in control. He's one of the top 5 NFL coaches, according to most people who really are experts. And I think all of us believe this guy has made chicken salad out of you know what. So, if he's involved seriously in calling this shot as to Robinson's replacement, is it Patriot? Is it Ohio State? Give me a name or two that makes sense if Vrabel has big power in this, which clearly he does.
Yeah, well, one name that you might look at, even though they didn't go with him as the interim, is Monty Ossenfort, who is like was the number 2 guy behind Cowden in the personnel department. If they stay in-house, that might be an option. I guess they'll look and see at Cowden to see, how he operates and all. If you go outside, it's possible, I guess, that you look at the Patriots and the Texans organizations to see somebody there that might be a prospect. Vrabel has, connections around the league. It's going to be interesting to see exactly, what direction they go, because I got to believe that, as the old Bill Parcells line goes, Mike Vrabel's not only about to cook the meal, he's about to get to shop for the groceries as well.
Yeah, and in fairness on Cowden, look, between now and the end of the season, the only thing he's going to have to worry about is who sits in his suite during the games. They're not trades that are going to be made. There's not a whole lot he can do between now and then to suddenly patch this problem up.
George, the last thing I'll add, I know we got to go. Whoever comes in, Mike Vrabel is going to have more say-so than he's had in the past. That's what I think. I don't care who they bring in, he's going to have more say-so. And I think that was proven today when this went down.
Terry, thank you for doing this on very short notice. Appreciate it as always.
No problem. You guys have a good day.
We'll go to the break. Stat of the day is next. And then Tony Basilio will join us.
But first, George, we never got to the Daily Titans update. Read it was the whole hour. I guess that's the reason why. But it has been brought to us by Sumner Funeral and Cremation. They are sharing their family with yours in your time of need. They've got 2 convenient locations in Gallatin and Hendersonville, and also online at sumnerfuneral.com. Also, Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners. They are proven to be trusted with your most personal asset. The Justin Tucker team, Middle Tennessee's most trusted team in realty. Give them a call at 615-906-8458.
Tony looks like he's got the nachos and maybe a little queso going. We'll find out what he's been munching on in about 4 minutes. Stick around. This is Main Street Media Television.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
When I made the decision to host the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night, Strike and Spare is where I turned. And what a wise decision that turned out to be. They have 5 locations in our area with family attractions. They're perfect for birthdays, groups and corporate outings, and holiday parties. For more info, it's simple. Go to strikeandspare.com.
This is Eric Berner with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. People hire me because I use a customized, individualized, personal approach for the person I'm working with. Everyone's situation is different. One area I can help with is if you are newly or nearly retired, or maybe have changed jobs and have an old 401k account. You may need more information to help you clearly understand your options. Call me at 615-235-1058 or email Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hey everyone, I'm John English. This is Keith Wallace, and we would like to welcome you to John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
We specialize in graded and ungraded sports and non-sports card, vintage wax boxes, and unopened cases. We have a large selection of PSA graded cards. We also specialize in old sports collectibles, baseball, football, basketball, golf, and tennis. You can find it all at John English Antique Sports and Cards.
We are happy to be associated with Nashville's greatest sports antique, George Plaster.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. It's now time for Stat of the Day, and it is brought to us by, as you just heard, John English Vintage Sports and Cards over in Shelbyville. They're open Tuesdays through Fridays from noon to 5 and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. You can also find them online at johnenglishgradedcards.com. Also, don't forget about Eric Berner with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors. Call Eric at 615-490-7052 or visit rockcastlewealth.com for more information. Okay, George, you've got Watson today for a little help. Let's see what Michael's got cooked up, and heck, we may even check in with Tony if you guys need help. But Here it is. Since the start of the last NFL season, which NFL team leads the league in most games with 40-plus points?
Okay, the easy thing to just pluck out of thin air would be to say, well, Kansas City. Okay, but something tells me it's not that simple. Watson, I don't want to take a lot of time because Tony's in the on-deck circle. He's excited about Trey Turner becoming a Philly. I see you smiling back there, Tony. Watson, who do you think it is?
Buffalo, possibly. What the Vikings, when they seem to score, they score a bunch.
Yeah.
It's not San Francisco. I'm trying to think of the better teams.
I don't think it's the Rams.
Would it be the Cowboys or Eagles? One of those two.
We're eliminating the Texans. NBC News projects that it's not the Texans.
The other one that scored a bunch of points this year.
Tony, thank you.
The other one scored a bunch of points this year is the Dolphins. They scored a lot of points
since the start of the last NFL season.
Oh, it's 2 seasons.
Two seasons. Yeah. Okay. It's not Houston.
Not Philadelphia then. I don't think.
Probably not.
A little hint, Watson has already mentioned the team.
Let's go with Buffalo. Yeah, let's go with Buffalo. What the heck?
Well, it wasn't quite that team. It's the Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Serious?
8 games with 40-plus points.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
KC's right behind him with 6.
Okay, in a moment, we'll find out if Tony had that. Don't you read stuff when Tony comes on?
Yes, I do. Got a lot of reading, George.
That's exciting.
We have entered the 5 o'clock hour. It is brought to us by Middle Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic. They combine state-of-the-art orthopedic service with a family atmosphere. Whether it's a sports injury, a sprained ankle, or a major joint replacement, they've got the staff, training, and equipment needed to take care of any patient in any circumstance. Visit mtbj.net for more information. And, George, that brings us to Tennessee Tuesday with Tony Basilio. And as always, it is brought to us by Complete Service Heat and Air. They do service and repair on heating and air the right way. They've got 24/7 service. Call them at 615-797-3997, serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties. Also, direct radon mitigation. Have you heard of the high levels of radon in Middle Tennessee? Radon gas is the second leading cause of lung cancer. The only way to know is to test for it. Visit Direct Radon Mitigation to schedule a free estimate. And before we get to Tony, few words here on Complete Service Heat and Air.
Complete Service Heat and Air can clean your coils, check out your motor, and make sure you have warm air throughout those cold winter months. Complete Service Heat and Air is located in White Bluff, Tennessee. We do service and repair on heating and air the right way. 24/7 service. Call us at 615-797-3997. Serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties.
How do I say this? Trey Turner's new best friend, Knoxville sports talk show host, Tony Basilio.
So weird. It's so weird to see the Phillies do normal things. That's left for other organizations usually, but there you go. Trey Turner's a Phil.
What's their payroll going to be? About $500 million?
I mean, I don't know because they still have to fortify and fill out their bullpen. I mean, there's still a whole lot of work left to be done.
Are you as big an Eagles fan as you are a Phillies fan?
I love the Eagles.
Oh, man, you're rolling, man. You've had a heck of a year.
Oh, hey, man.
Yeah. I mean, the Vols, the Phillies, and the Eagles, my gracious, boy.
You know, I can't help but think that the Eagles had a part in Robinson going out the door. But that whole thing Sunday, that kind of – you talk about something that blew up in his face. That was not good.
No.
Yeah.
But you could see it coming a mile away.
Sure you could, yeah.
I feel bad for John. John is from Union City, Tennessee. Yep. I think he and Mark Griffin knew each other growing up, and I know what this job meant to him. I feel very bad for him for that point. I texted him earlier today and just said, hey, something good will come out of this, and I do believe that for him. He's a good man. I hope it goes well.
Yeah, I had a little meeting with Mark today, and Mark was saying the same thing. Professional sports, these high-level college sports are very unforgiving sometimes. You know, you don't win, somebody's got to pay the price.
I'm going to bypass the Orange Bowl for a minute and just go on a little soapbox here. Hendon Hooker got royally screwed. For that young man not to be invited to the Heisman is bull. Thank you.
You're exactly right. And I'll tell you what's sad about it is he's everything you'd want in a Division I athlete. I mean, he's so exemplary in so many ways. And I just think those voters, that whole system, I think a real disservice is done to the game of football when you take a guy like him and you say, well, you're not even one of the 4 best in our game, when really it's a quarterback's award. You gonna tell me that guy is one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the country this year? Come on now.
Do you want to see some numbers that I put together earlier that
Sure.
that Billy will show in a graphic?
Yeah.
So these are the numbers of the 4 quarterbacks that did get invited and the one that didn't in Hendon Hooker. And Tony, I can't find any argument in my mind to say that when he got hurt, he couldn't have been worse than number 2 at that point. Couldn't have been worse.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, the bottom line is if Tennessee would have defeated South Carolina and he would have stayed on his feet, he would be holding the trophy this weekend. But that just goes to show you, look, I've never liked that award. To me, you're giving out a personal award in the ultimate team sport. It's just never made much sense to me, but I realize it has prestige. It seems like with every passing year, though, it loses a little something. And maybe that's orange-colored glasses speaking, but it just doesn't seem like the same award it was, say, even 20, 25 years ago. It just does not seem the same. It used to be called the most heralded, or what was the term they used to use for it? The most cherished trophy in American sports. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Watson, give us some thoughts, and you kind of take it.
One of the biggest things when you read about the Heisman, Tony, is which one, and it's off the field. There's a lot of stuff to the Heisman Award, but which one did the most for his team? How in the world, you know who the 2 I'd pick that did the most for their team out of that list?
The kid
Hendon Hooker won, and Max Duggan number 2.
Yep.
Those other guys, C.J. Stroud,
no.
Caleb Williams had a good year, but I mean, Stetson Bennett's got all kind of great players around him, and I'm not saying he don't deserve to be there, but the guy that did the most for his football team on that board was Hendon Hooker. And it's a shame to me because I think the injury is the reason they didn't put him in there. And that's not fair. He played 11 games, nearly 11 games. He got hurt in the 4th quarter of the South Carolina game. And I think he's not there just because he got hurt. That's not fair. But when you watch Tennessee play and then you watch those other teams play, Max and Hendon are the 2 quarterbacks that really did the most for their 2 teams. I don't feel good about any of the 4 that are there. I don't look at it this year. The one I would vote for out of that 4 is Max Duggan. I would not. I don't feel great about Caleb Williams winning it. I just don't. That's just me. I just don't.
This feels like a year where, Baseball Hall of Fame, there are no inductees. That's the way I look at that award. I mean, I'm not trying to knock anybody, but I don't see anything distinguishing anybody on that list to say, boy, that's a Heisman Trophy winner. And in fact, here's the thing that really kind of irks me. The Williams kid is going to win it.
Yeah.
And he lost the other night, his last time out, and didn't look very good doing it. And people say, well, the hamstring and the this and the that. Hey, listen, they fought Hendon Hooker for the way he went out, and they held that against him. And I don't see how you can lose the same team twice in 1 year and turn around and win the award. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's me.
No. And to lead to that, Tony, it's easy for me. It's that losing to South Carolina and then losing your quarterback, your Heisman Trophy quarterback, is so devastating that it takes away from the year they had. We all kind of forget this team was that close to being in the Final Four. I mean, that close. to being in the Final Four. And but we've backed away from giving them the credit the year they've had. I probably was more proud of the coaching staff and the team in that last game as I was in any all year, because everybody was on them. They've gone from the stars, the heroes, to everybody on them, just like that. And to turn around and come back and play that hard and that tough in Nashville against the team, Vanderbilt wasn't anywhere close to them, but against the team that had won 2 straight SEC football games.
Yes.
And to go on the road, even though it wasn't on the road, but to go on the road and do that, to me, is a great credit to them. And I just think it's a shame that we're kind of forgetting just how good a year that really was.
And you know what? Furthering your point, which, hey, it's easy to forget. You were riding high 8-0 at one time. You know, they announced the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year finalist today. You know, Josh Heupel's not even one of the final 8.
Who was in it?
I mean, here they are.
That's
Sonny
nuts.
Dykes is 1. Mike Elko 2. Willie Fritz, Tulane. Jim Harbaugh, Michigan. Believe it or not, Lincoln Riley from USC. Kirby Smart, Georgia. John Summerall, Troy. And Jeff Traylor from Texas San Antonio. I'm sorry. I'm sure a lot of those guys had great years. Coaching this league, get your team to 10-2 with that roster, and then give me a call. I mean, give me a break, guys.
No, I'm with you on that too. But that's exactly, to me, Tony, what we're dealing with here. We're going from everybody's in shock year to all of a sudden, and you lose the quarterback, and now you're going to play Clemson with a backup, and you're wondering how it's going to. All of a sudden, it sounded like it was an average year. This was no average year. I mean, all the door 2 years ago, they had nothing. A bunch of the kids had left. They had an NCAA investigation hanging over them.
Right.
I mean, we forget how quickly, how bad things are and how he turned it around. I know I sound like I'm really tooting his horn, but I just don't see, taking where he's come from in 2 years. It is easier to change a program now, Tony, than it used to be because of this transfer portal.
Sure.
And the NIL money. You can go spend a lot of money on 2 or 3 guys and really improve your program. But still, to come as far as they have, like they have, I don't think anybody in the country has done that. I didn't see the jump in Southern Cal the way I saw it, the jump in Tennessee. I just didn't see that.
Gets no credit. I mean, that's so – what you say is really accurate, which is we live in a society where it's moment to moment. And the minute you lose, that same media that can't wait to build you up, they can't wait to kill you. And it is just how it is. I guess that's what happened to Tennessee this year, because the other guy they've got left that's up for one of these national awards is the great wide receiver. And is he not going to get the Blitnikoff Award now? Jalen Hyatt, whose numbers are just, they blow everybody off the field in college football. I guess he's not going to win the award either. It's almost like, and I'm not trying to sound homerish, but it's almost like Tennessee season didn't happen now. It's very strange.
I just think the way it went down at the end, Tony, it's hard for people to get past and to see past it. That was so devastating to lose bad at South Carolina. And if I'd have thought about that more, that was a trout, man. That is a very tough place to play.
Yeah.
Very tough place to play. Now, the week before, they had made 9 first downs against Florida, so it wasn't, that didn't make it much of a trap that way. But I think losing Hendon Hooker is what changed everything. It changed the look of the Tennessee team. Everybody would be excited about going to the Orange Bowl and playing Clemson right now if he was still playing.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a question mark. Oh, gosh, are we good enough to beat Clemson with our quarterback situation the way it is? I think Hendon is the one that changed the whole thing, that injury. And it's just an absolute shame that it went down that way.
Watson, let me ask both of you, though. I've been a Heisman voter in my past. I mean, that's irresponsible to just completely dismiss his achievements because all of a sudden there's an ACL issue. I mean, this guy was out of his mind good. And all of a sudden, I mean, I'm sorry, CJ Stroud does not deserve to be there over Hendon Hooker.
No. But, George, you know how it goes. CJ Stroud is a guy in August and July and back in May when the annuals that are still out there come out, who they splash on the covers and who all these guys talk about. And what's never made any sense to me about that award, and here's why I largely have ignored it down through the years, you can't tell me, George, in baseball, we don't pick the MVP in April. We don't say who the MVP is going to be, and then that's who the MVP is going to be. We don't do that. Why do we do that in college football? That's the only reason CJ Stroud's going. It's the only reason.
Well, this is really, this one bugs me.
Yeah.
It's irresponsible. Put his numbers back up there for just a minute, if you will, Billy. I mean, look at 27 touchdowns to 2 INTs.
Right.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
In 11 games.
And
11 games.
Warrant a seat in New York.
And leads all of those quarterbacks in rushing, by the way, too.
Yeah. I mean, so
and it's one game short, and it's 2 games short of 3 of them, and 1 game short of the guy that's going to win it. No, I don't think he will win. I think Caleb Williams will win it.
Let's say he had stayed healthy. Okay. I think you can pretty easily say that he was going to throw for 300 or 400 against Vandy.
Oh, and many touchdowns.
And take that. Yeah. And take that number quite a bit higher. I mean, help me, Tony, what did he not do to get a seat at that table?
He wasn't a part of the club. And the
and he didn't finish the year.
And you didn't finish the year. And the weirdest thing about that award is, I'm telling you, this Caleb Williams guy is going to win it. And he did not look good Friday night. I don't care, healthy, not healthy, 100%, 30%. I don't care. He did. If you guys want to tell me that's a Heisman Trophy winner, please don't give the award out. And he's going to win the award.
He is going to win the award.
He doesn't deserve it.
So we got about, let's say, 4, 5, 6 minutes here.
Yeah.
So it's Clemson in the Orange Bowl.
Yes.
Will this be a big travel Tennessee fan base, or are they in sort of the hangover because of the way it ended?
Oh, no. Tennessee fans are going to travel to that game. Tennessee fans haven't been in a near 6 bowl in forever. They haven't been in the Orange Bowl in 25 years. This is a celebration of Tennessee football. Watson has a really good point. He saw him up close and personal last week. I watched the game last week, North Carolina Clemson game. What? Dabo Swinney, and I was talking to one of their writers today who's been over.
I know where this is going.
Well, no, I mean, we call him Coach iChart here because I can't pronounce that kid's name, but that poor kid can't play. I mean, that guy bounced three balls to start the game. They threw 1 high, and they got him out of there. If they don't do that, that game is an absolute blowout. And the flipping burgers thing, a guy on my show had a pretty good line. Kevin Steele, who coached at both places, he's down there at Miami. And the last time they played in that game when he was down there, I think West Virginia put 75 on one of his defenses. And one of our guys wants him to go out and flip a hamburger in honor of what Dabo said. Instead of tossing a coin to begin the game, Watson, we're going to flip a hamburger, and one side's going to be charred black, like that last defense they had down there that night in the Orange Bowl, and then the other side is whatever it's going to be. But, guys, I'm telling you, this game, Tennessee fans are excited about it, and it's going to be fun. Now, what's going to happen? I'm going to pre-medicate before that game after watching that freshman play last week, guys. From Clemson. I'm pre-medicating, thinking about him, Watson, throwing on our defense. I'm already starting to pre-medicate, guys.
What a big night or afternoon, whenever it is, for Joe Milton.
Oh,
I mean, what a big game this is. This is it for him now. I mean, if he goes and he performs, he's the next man, Tony.
Can he do it?
If he does not play well, If he does not play well now, they're going somewhere else. They're going with a young one there or go get one. And what a big game this is for that kid.
But they're saying no opt-outs for him. I mean, no opt-outs for Clemson on that defense. So if Clemson brings all those big guys in there on that defensive line.
Well, it's just but that's what they play every week, Tony. That's what Tennessee plays every week in the SEC. That front seven. That front seven is SEC front seven. Now, the secondary is not. I'm telling you, the secondary is not. And, of course, I'm not one to be talking. I said for a month my brother's going to beat him. So,
my wife said to me, did you text Watson? I said, are you kidding me? I'm not going to text him. She said, we ought to text him.
You should have, because I deserved it. I again went with my heart, and that will get you in more trouble.
And he gets on me when I make bad picks.
Well,
that one wasn't bad. That was
horrendous. So let me ask both of y'all this. Can Tennessee afford to wait to see if Milton is any good in the Orange Bowl? Don't they have to hedge their bet with all of these really good names in the portal?
I don't know. From what I understand, Tony will be able to vouch for this a lot better than me. I think they really like some of the young guys that are on their team. So, George, I don't think they'll think they got to go do that. I think they like some of these young guys they got, and I think Joe takes over if he plays well in this game. And if he doesn't, I think they'll go with one of the young guys and let them battle it out in the spring. I don't think they'll go for a transfer quarterback. Maybe I'm wrong, Tony. Help me with that. What do you think?
If he bombs out in the bowl game, they're almost going to be forced to try and do something, I would think, Watson.
You don't think they'll stay within the young guys?
Well, the idea right now is to make Taven Jackson think that he's got a really great chance of starting to start the season. Keep both those guys interested. Keep them on your roster. And these days, you've got to massage these guys. Because everybody knows, hey, you've got a guy over here that can play a little bit. And they think this Jackson guy has a future as a college quarterback, whether it's here or somewhere. And I think the concept is to keep him engaged, keep him here. Now, he's got a shoulder deal, or he would get every opportunity to play in this game. I really believe that. I think if he didn't have the shoulder situation, he'd get an opportunity to play in this game, but he's not going to be available. So with that in mind, like you say, the hope is that Milton plays well. And with him, he's a box of chocolates. Who knows? He's an absolute wild card. In fact, both these quarterbacks are wild cards. Because the other kid from Clemson, you can't tell me that if they didn't have more confidence in him, they wouldn't have moved off the upperclassmen to begin with. But there was something about that kid. They didn't trust him. They did not trust that young kid in practice. There's something about him.
We'll talk about it a bunch, Tony, as it goes. But I just got a feeling Tennessee's going to get them pretty good. And I think Milton will play the best we've seen him play. How far does he take that? I don't know, but I think he's going to play a solid game in this game.
Tony, I need a 30-second answer. Where I'm going with this is, aren't most of these transfer portal kids going to commit before that bowl game?
I mean, I would think so, unless a lot of these teams that are involved with them say, give us some time here. Give us some time. And I think Tennessee's calculus is, I'm talking to somebody, look, if we've got to go get somebody, we'll just go get somebody in the spring, because the other thing that happens is freshmen come in and start early now. So incumbent guys or veteran guys realize I don't have a spot on this roster anymore. So a bunch of those guys jump in the spring as well.
There's talk, George, of one guy that I think fits their offense to a T.
Who's that?
That they're saying he very well could come out in his last year. And that's Sam Hartman at Wake Forest. I'm telling you, that kid fits the orange offense.
That'd be scary.
I'm telling you, I'm hearing there's a great chance he may come out. That's the one that fits him right there.
And
he's hitting the hooker without the same legs.
And when Watson hears it, it's normally pretty good info.
There you go. Watson
I also heard North Carolina was going to beat Clemson too.
Right.
That wasn't real good info.
Now your picks. Now again, your Orange Bowl pick, I'm taking with a grain of salt. No offense. Your pick on the quarterback deal, though, I'm listening to that. But your Orange Bowl pick, I think you got there's a little dislike there from Clemson. I think there's a deep-seated, there's something going on there. I'm feeling that, Watson. No offense to you.
No, I'm staying out of it. No comment. I'm staying completely away from it.
There's something that's going on in his childhood.
Yes.
Tony,
It's a little further along than childhood.
Maybe Clemson spurned him.
Maybe.
Then it was Alabama. Then it became Vandy. Hey, 2 words to end this. Trey Turner.
Boy, I love it.
You should.
Let's go sign some more.
Player.
I feel like a Yankee fan all of a sudden. We're a have. Who knew?
Go get Aaron Judge.
Hey, thank you guys. Be blessed.
Hey, Tony, thank you. Appreciate it.
Guys.
Okay, good stuff. Continuing what has been an unbelievable show so far. One of the real clutch of all clutch players in college basketball history. Former Vanderbilt basketball star Barry Goheen will join us after the break. I can't even remember how many buzzer beaters he had. And here's what's scary. I was one of his broadcasters. This is Main Street Media Television.
Buying or selling a home can be a very personal experience. Why not go with the team that receives nearly all of their business from referrals? Clearly a trusted name in real estate. The Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners has sold more than 500 homes in the last 7 years. Voted best in Sumner County multiple times. Proven to be trusted with your most personal assets. Call the Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners at 615-906-8458. The Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners, Middle Tennessee's most trusted team in realty.
I highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation because of their caring nature and attentiveness to detail.
Pre-planning your funeral now will bring you peace of mind and less stress to your loved ones. When the chaos of losing you happens, your family can honor and celebrate your life, knowing things are happening just as you wanted them to. Pre-planning determines the details of your funeral, cemetery services, and can be less expensive. We are honored to serve you and are always here for you in your time of need.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. Traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
Jody Jones Dentistry can handle all your dental needs, from the basics to cosmetic procedures. All of this in the nicest dental facility I have ever seen. Jody has done it right. They're located conveniently at 55 Music Square East, and for an appointment, it's simple. Dial 615-259-5100 and tell them Plaz sent you. When you're thinking about golf, consider Riverside Golf Links. Under new ownership, the course has improved dramatically. It's now 27 holes, complemented by a 9-hole executive course. Book a tee time now at 615-847-5074 and get ready to enjoy the beauty of golf in the Old Hickory area at Riverside Golf Links.
I'm Bart Durham.
I was sworn in as a lawyer in 1963, and I've been working as a lawyer since then.
We're a firm that does exclusively personal injury, a lot of tractor-trailer crashes. Insurance companies will open up their checkbooks when you force them to.
We have systems that work.
We get the most money for our clients in the shortest amount of time.
I'm Blair Durham. My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
This is Eric Berner with Rock Castle Wealth Advisors. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. People hire me because I use a customized, individualized, and personal approach for the person I'm working with. Everyone's situation is different. If you've lost a spouse or a parent and want to make sure your inheritance is utilized and does not just disappear, I can help with that. Call me at 615-235-1058 or email Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
We are back. I was trying earlier today, a little show prep, and I was trying to write down, to my memory, all of the buzzer beaters that Barry Goheen had in an incredible college career. He's going to laugh because I know I've missed on a couple. I was there at the Palestra for what I think was the first one of those, a buzzer beater that beat Penn. And that was in December, I want to say, of 85. I could be wrong, but somewhere in that area. There was a step back three-pointer after the three-point field goal line had been installed against the Georgia Bulldogs that helped Vandy to a Memorial Gym win. There was a half-court shot against the Louisville Cardinals that beat them at Memorial Gym when Denny Crum was the coach and Louisville was riding high. There is the one that virtually all of you remember, and that is in March of 1988 in Lincoln, Nebraska. He hits a three at the buzzer of regulation to force an overtime against Pittsburgh that Vandy eventually wins. Pittsburgh, by the way, little known fact, had an assistant coach on that team named John Calipari. I think there are a couple more, but I can't remember them. And I tried looking them up today and couldn't find what I needed. Barry Goheen is now an author, wrote a book entitled Buzzer Beaters and Memorial Magic, and he will be part of a group tomorrow night. Will Purdue will be a part of that as well. An NCAA tournament team in 1988 that will be honored at Memorial Gym. You saw C.M. Newton and Coach John Bostic. I think we've got Barry on audio only, if I'm correct.
He's on by phone.
He's on by phone. Barry, how are you?
Well, at least he should be.
At least we think we've got him. Barry, are you there? Okay. Not yet.
Let's try it.
We'll have a little patience.
Try him now, George.
Okay, let's see if we can bring Barry Goheen in here by way of audio. Barry, are you there?
I am. Are you?
Beautiful. I'm there. Good
to see you.
If you heard this. I listed 4 of the buzzer beaters. The last second shot at Penn, the step back 3 at home against Georgia, the half court thing against Louisville, and then the obvious 3-pointer that we just showed against Pitt. I'm missing some, and I know I am. Tell me, what am I missing?
I think if you're talking about last second shots, I think the one that's missing would be when I was a freshman. We had a game against Tennessee where we came from 8 down with maybe 50 seconds to go and won that game. There were a couple of other shots that won the game. The other team had a chance to tie or win, and they missed the shot. So I think those went down as game-winning shots, but not necessarily buzzer beaters.
Barry, did you have any history of this in high school? Where'd this come from?
Sound like I'm talking about a medical condition.
Right. Where did your asthma start?
Yes, exactly. I think it started in high school. We didn't have as many close games. I mean, we were very good in high school. There were a couple of games that I did tie or win late in the game. I don't think it was anything quite along the thrill spectrum that we had at Vanderbilt, but we played a great deal of very competitive, top-notch opponents in high school, and I think that really helped train me for what was to come at Vanderbilt, because as you well know, CM scheduled very aggressively outside the conference, and the SEC was also very good in those days as well. So we played a lot of close games, and I think just having grown up in an environment where we played a lot of challenging teams, I believe a lot of that rubbed off, not just on me, but I think on a lot of my teammates as well. They all performed pretty well, as you know, in late games as well.
Barry, and I remember it long before you had proven any of this stuff, CM was a huge believer in you. Where do you think you won him over where he got to a point that any time it got late in the game, it was yours?
Well, I really wish he were still around for you and me both to ask him that question, because I don't know that I don't know that I can answer that question. I think, very first game that I had in college, which was in front of about 20 people in Clemson, which I heard that name in the previous segment. So here we go again, but we were at the old IPTAY tournament, and we played South Florida. And at the end of the game, we were behind by 1 point. I drew a foul on the offensive player and got and hit both ends of the 1-and-1, which could have won the game, but then they came down in 4 seconds and hit their own buzzer beater on a putback. But no, being my first college game, I think they gave Coach Newton the idea that I would be able to handle the pressure late in games. And from that point, forward, really, I was in most of the late games. I didn't start as much my freshman year, but there were, in late games, and I remember several of them, I was there sometimes in a 3-guard alignment with the 2 seniors on that team. And he did have a great deal of confidence. And of course, you want to be able to reward that confidence. And I think a lot of times I was able to do that. But I think Coach Newton just had a good feel for what players could do in certain situations. And I know, Watson, you know that as well. He just had that, that coaches have a good idea of what are the strengths of the players, where are they best situated to perform. And I think he seemed to draw that kind of beat on me early on. And he saw some of my high school games, which I'm sure also informed his opinion of me.
Watson, say hello to Barry Goheen.
Barry, man, it's great to hear your voice. I can remember so many different times through that last year there when you all went to and beat Pitt. I know exactly where I was when you beat Pitt.
So do I.
So it's been many, many years. I know I'm a lot grayer looking. I'd love to see you. You're probably a little older looking too, but I know I am. And
you look younger than I do, Coach.
I wouldn't say that. Barry, George, I'll go ahead and just ask a question since I'm here and let you take it back. But
no, go ahead.
The thing to me, Barry, that I've always believed, and you were one that proved it to me, to gain confidence, you got to have some success at what you're doing before you gain confidence. And then when you gain confidence, confidence leads to poise. And was it easier for you after you hit an early one in your early stage, and as you get in those situations more and more, didn't that confidence from those early ones mean so much to you and really make you make maybe this, I guess your last one was this Pitt shot in the NC2As?
It does. I think you raise a good point, Coach. And, you're no stranger to clutch play yourself in football. So I think you could probably understand how it is as a player. And then you had I think you had the position as a coach to observe it more. But, when you're a player and you do have an initial event that helps, even though we didn't win the game I just talked about in my first game, but it helped feed some confidence in me. Clearly, it placed a lot of trust in Coach Newton to place more trust in me. So, it was a really it did feed off that. So it does bring up the question: what if I missed the front end of that 1-and-1 and we lose right there? Will Coach Newton be as bullish on putting me in the game the next time the game is on the line? Who knows? But I'm happy it worked out the way it did, and he of course was the right coach for me at the right time in my life for certain.
Barry, tell us a little bit about the book. I brought up the name of it earlier. Why did you decide to do it? And so far, how is it sold?
It came out about 3 years ago. 2010 or 2011, I think, I just started thinking that, I have a lot of information. My parents scrapbooked really well the 4 years I was there. I had some other sources that I had, and I thought, well, let's just see if I put this to paper, what it might look like. I didn't really have a goal of publishing it at the time, and I didn't work on it, real religiously. Obviously had another job, and sometimes I would go weeks, maybe months without even picking it up. And that's why it took 8 years to put together. But I just thought it would be fun, kind of a stress release from work, just to see what it might look like. Because the truth is, it's a very interesting story. And I'm not saying my story is interesting, but I think the Vanderbilt story is interesting during that era because we played so many good teams. I mean, you would almost have to say, here are the good teams we didn't play. We played North Carolina, Duke, Indiana, Notre Dame, Louisville, Michigan, Ohio State, and that's just Kansas State. And that's just teams outside the SEC. So I thought it would be interesting just to say, kind of have a setting of college basketball in the late 80s, because we interacted with so many great players and coaches. Plus, we had our own great coach, and we had a great player as well with Will Perdue on the 88 team. I think that's a good story, and I think it's been well received. Mercer, who was the publisher, sold out of the hard copy printing, so there are soft cover copies available still, but it's been well received. I'm pleased at the reaction that it's gotten, not just among Vanderbilt fans, but among college basketball fans.
Did Coach Newton know you were writing it?
He didn't. I really didn't tell anybody I was working on the book, because as I said, I didn't really have a goal of publishing it. So I didn't want to tell someone I was working on it, and then it might turn out not to be published. And to be honest, George, I sort of held back finishing the book, and just to be honest, until Coach Newton passed away.
Yeah.
And as you know, and you were there, you were so good at his Tuscaloosa memorial service with what you did there. That wound up being the coda to the book. I had it all pretty much finished, and I waited for a single page coda as the very last page of the book. So I thought that kind of wrapped it up. Coach Newton did not know I was working on the book. He probably would have had a typical CM reaction like, "Oh, Barry, why are you wasting your time?
Wasting your time.
I'm not that interesting," or something like that, to which we'd get into a needless fight, because he was that interesting, and he was a great person and a great coach. So, I kind of held it back from him. But Martin, his son, came to a book launch party we had in Atlanta about 3 years ago, right before it came out. He was generous enough to come over from Sanford.
Wow. Yeah.
And he gave some very kind remarks about Coach Newton and about the book that he had read that we had in Atlanta. So that's about as close as I guess he got. But I'd like this. It'd be fun if Coach Newton read it just to see what he'd think about it. But
yeah, it's let me say this: it's really well written.
Thank you.
I read the thing cover to cover probably in about 4 days, and obviously I lived a lot of it, so it interested me a lot. But I don't believe there's a Vanderbilt basketball fan out there that goes back to that era that wouldn't find this to be a really good read. I would encourage anybody who has a Vanderbilt basketball tie, find a way to get this book. Buzzer Beaters and Memorial Magic, and you all are being honored tomorrow night. That's going to be fun.
We're very excited about it. I've seen some of the guys today. We watched the team practice. They were hopeful that maybe some of our pit mojo from 88 will rub off on the team tomorrow night and bring home what would be a very good, solid non-conference win if they can win it.
Barry, I'm looking forward to having dinner with you guys tomorrow night.
Yes, we're looking forward to it too, George. Thanks, Coach. Always a pleasure to see you as well.
It's an honor, Barry. Good luck, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man.
One of the all-time good guys as well, and a damn good attorney down in Atlanta. If anybody needs a little litigation stuff, he's pretty darn good at it, which shouldn't surprise anybody. We'll go to the break, and then Plaster Bet of the Day is coming up next.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, Flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. When I made the decision to host the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night, Strike and Spare is where I turned. And what a wise decision that turned out to be. They have 5 locations in our area with family attractions. They're perfect for birthdays, groups and corporate outings, and holiday parties. For more info, it's simple. Go to strikeandspare.com.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor-trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor-trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bart Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor-trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. It's now time for Plaster's Bet of the Day. It is brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Since 1975, they have aggressively protected the rights of a broad range of victims of car accidents and personal injury in both Tennessee and Kentucky. If you, too, have seen your life interrupted by an injury on a highway, in a hospital, or at your workplace, let their attorneys do the work fighting for the full financial compensation that you need. Learn more about Bart Durham Injury Law by logging onto their website. That's bartdurham.com. Okay, let's check out what happened last night with you, George. You completed your teaser with Dallas and Tampa. Tampa pulled it out somehow late last night. Well, I'll tell you how. It was Mr. Tom Brady. And that put you 2 games above 500. And that percent would be?
Don't know. Had not
I thought you would have had that before the show even started.
Well, you know, things have a way of happening. Let's go with 50.6. 50.6.
Almost back up to 51.
So let me say, Watson, Tampa is wanting a bunch of Gerber's baby food for an offense. They don't do anything.
Who are you talking about?
Tampa. They don't challenge people anymore. They don't go deep at all. It's a bunch of Gerber's baby food.
I think the Bucks look to me a little like the Titans. They might win the first home game, but they ain't going no further than that.
No,
I win the division because their division's bad too.
It's just a pile of mush.
Yeah,
he didn't have anybody to throw to. I mean, I don't even know.
But he does, Billy. I mean, he's got Evans. He's got Godwin. I mean, he does have good players. I don't know. Those are the ones that won a Super Bowl. He threw to when he won the Super Bowl. So I don't know what's going on there, but they just
don't challenge anybody.
They just look dull.
Yes,
it's like they don't care to be there. I mean, seriously, till the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, let's see if we can win it now.
They
I don't
look
know.
like they went through the motions last night.
Yeah,
now,
totally.
I'll admit, I was bored enough. I fell asleep with about 8 minutes.
I didn't watch it all either. I turned it over late
Yeah.
to see what the score was. Said, I think I'll just play it out. I didn't watch the 2 middle quarters.
And then I watched the last 45 seconds. I guess the crowd noise woke me up. I saw the end of it, and I'm like, how in the world did New Orleans lose this? Good Lord. That win by Tampa is fool's gold. They aren't any good right now.
I think they'll beat somebody in the first round at home. That's it. That's about where they'll go.
Okay, tonight.
College hoops?
Yeah. I'm going to take Maryland at home, and it's not Minnesota. It's, I'm going to take Wisconsin at home. We got the wrong team.
Oh, you wrote down Minnesota.
No, I didn't. No,
that's my bad then.
Billy, don't take on the boss now.
No, absolutely. God, no. We don't
go there, boy.
Why did I write that? Is my fault, man.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to trick George there.
Right. Wisconsin is who we're taking tonight. Okay. It says Minnesota. If you're going Minnesota, make sure it's the Vikings, not the University of. I'm going Wisconsin at home as a dead pick'em against a very talented Maryland. This is one of those Big Ten kind of things early. This is going to be a good game.
Big Ten hoops already back in action.
Man, it's early. Way too early.
Pac-12 too.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. They're all starting way too early. Watson, we've had a heck of a show today.
Ooh, this has been a wild ride here, buddy.
Yeah. Tomorrow, and I'm going to call you about this later, Watson. Let's see. Scott Ramsey will join us to discuss Kentucky and Iowa. I think it's fair to say that the over-under in that game will be lower than last year's Tennessee-Purdue matchup.
It'll be lower than the first quarter over-under.
Yeah, you're probably right.
What if they have those?
And Mark McGee will join us to talk about the suddenly surging Preds, who I think I'm right are 7-1-1 in their last 9.
Yeah, coming on.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Okay.
Good for the Preds.
Watson, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, guys.
Billy.
George.
Try to behave.
I'll try to.
Yeah, when it says Wisconsin on the paper.
Yeah, I need a slap on the wrist.
Go with Wisconsin. See all of you tomorrow. This Main Street Media Television.